Okay, welcome to the first installment of Grimdebunk. Basically what I want this to be, a casual approach to the lore of Warhammer 40k. If you are getting sick of watching clickbait videos about 40k, then opening up a 40k novel and finding out that nothing in that video is actually in the lore itself, then this channel might be the channel for you. We'll explore some of the most frequently asked questions about that topic. We'll do a little bit of debunking, a little bit of grim debunking. We're going to figure out if that thing is either lore or heresy. So if anyone out there has any questions at all, just feel free to shoot them across. First little claim that we're going to take a look at this week, first possible grim debunk, is about the Emperor's plan to save mankind. So for those of you who know about the Emperor in 30k during the Great Crusade, his plan to save humanity all hinged on something called the Webway. Well, maybe not hinged, but at least partially hinged on something called the Webway. For anyone who's new, the Webway, in a nutshell, is a series of tunnels that sort of crisscross and interconnect real space, which is the materium, with the warp, which you would call the immaterium. It allows for whichever species is in control of the Webway tunnels at that point in time to travel and communicate safely across the galaxy without encountering the dangers of the warp. So the warp is a very scary place full of demons and gods, and if you're not careful, you'll get corrupted, eaten, possessed. It's not a fun time for anyone. The Eldar essentially the custodians of the Webway, the ones who basically ran the place for millennia until their fall. And their fall came about because as a psychic species, they attracted the warp. The Eldar were the big dogs in the universe for a long time, and because of a whole bunch of shenanigans, somewhat involving their psychic abilities, they no longer are. They are now the little dogs. For the majority of species in the 40k universe, if you're not using something like the Webway to travel, you have to use the warp. That's essentially what humanity was doing in 30k during the Great Crusade, and it's currently what they're doing in 40k. They're forced to do it. So if you want to do either of those things in the Imperium, you need to use mutants to help you out. Psychic mutants like astropaths for communication and navigators for travel. So the Webway allows you to do all those things on paper without any interference from the warp. When the Emperor has his plan, part of his plan to save humanity is to co-opt the Elder Webway, the parts that he can, repurpose it as the Human Webway, build onto it, and use this Human Webway to help save humanity. The worry for the Emperor, and the thing that's in the back of his mind the entire time, is that the human species is naturally evolving towards a psychic species. There's already psychers within the community, psychers popping up as part of natural evolution. They're essentially going to be the end point for humanity. Problem with letting evolution take its course naturally, psychic power that's uncontrolled, psychic power that's just raw, psychic power that is just popping up out of people's heads through evolution attracts the warp. If it attracts the warp, it attracts chaos, demons, the gods. People's heads blow up. The Emperor wants to shepherd humanity towards its psychic ascension safely, and he needs to make sure that this evolutionary process, which he can't stop, he needs to control. And he's a psyker himself, let's not forget. So all well and good, right? Makes sense, or as much sense as anything does in 40k. So what is the actual claim we're trying to look at here today? So the claim that we see online is that on top of this plan, the Emperor wants to move all of humanity, the whole species, take them out of the galaxy, whack them in the Webway, and allow them to ascend to their psychic potential. Is it lore or is it heresy? It's heresy. There's a certain amount of logic to the idea. The only problem with it is it's not mentioned anywhere. Not in any book. Right? The idea being that because the Webway is a safe haven, because chaos doesn't easily get in, not that it can't get in, but it doesn't easily get in, that if you are going to ascend an entire species towards being psychers in the safest way possible, you want to do it in a safe space. Essentially, that's what the Webway is, right? It's just a giant safe space for psychers. Why is it heresy? Well, let's take a look at the Emperor's words himself. Let's see what the man himself has to say in the Heresy novel, Master of Mankind by Grimdebunk. Here are his steps. Step number 1. Conquer all of humanity so you can control the species. Step number 2, enforce the imperial truth. The imperial truth is a dogma that eradicates superstition and worship within human thinking and behavior. Step number 3, use the webway to travel between worlds and to communicate between them too. And step number 4, good old-fashioned tyranny. So look, essentially what the Emperor wants to do is he wants to control the evolutionary process itself. Each of those steps, conquering humanity, using the webway, enforcing the imperial truth, that's his way of controlling the evolution. It's not about moving the species somewhere so the evolution can take place within a bubble. I mean, the Emperor wants humanity to inherit the stars. So essentially what he wants is an atheist culture under his complete dominance, under his complete shepherdship. I don't know if that's a word, but under his stewardship and the webway. What else have we got on the topic on the Emperor's plan? Another book that discusses the plan is The Lost and the Damned by Guy Haley. It's a Siege of Terror novel. And the Emperor's son, Rogel Dawn, repeats the plan. And for anyone who doesn't know, Primarch Dawn and what Primarchs are the sons of the Emperor. There's 20 superhuman sons of the Emperor. So Dawn outlines the Imperial Webway plan as explained to him by his father. Oh, we currently use astropaths and navigators to communicate and travel the galaxy through the warp. The Human Webway is a more efficient way of doing the exact same thing, right? So for him, it was about efficiency, about optimization. But what he realizes in hindsight and in this conversation is that it was about avoiding the dangers of the warp. It was about protection for humanity. Another example is Malcador speaking in The Last War, which is another Siege of Terror novel. So Malcador, the Sigillite, and Malcador is essentially the Emperor's 2IC. He suggests that maybe what the plan was meant to do was to starve chaos at the source. Now, how does that work? The whole idea for Malcador is once you remove the navigators and the astropaths, you no longer need the Astronomicon to work the way that it does. You can use the Astronomicon, repurpose it. And so in that way, the end game for the Emperor's plan, once humanity has psychically ascended, is to actually channel and use humanity's psychic ascension, the power of the entire species, to take the fight straight to the warp and straight to the chaos gods. Nothing about moving humanity into the webway. Also, if you take a look at it, the plan itself literally says the Human Webway is for interstellar communication and travel between planets, which means you need to live on planets in order to travel and communicate between them. So what is the plan? Conquer the galaxy, control the galaxy, minimize the warp, maybe even wipe it clean, not hide from it. Now, could it have worked? I mean, that's the other thing, right? We don't know. I think that's why a lot of people have added extra things to the plan, like moving humanity away, because when they look at the plan, they can poke holes in it, and you can poke holes in any plan at the end of the day. The Primarch craftsman Vulcan, when he gets a look at in Echoes of Eternity, another Siege of Terror novel by Aaron Dembski-Bowden, he's not convinced it would have worked, or it would have worked for long enough anyway. But then again, who knows, right? Maybe it only needed to work for long enough to ascend humanity. We don't know. And really, it's a moot question because another one of the Emperor's sons, the Sorcerer Magnus, ruined it for everyone. Anyway, I hope that helps. If anyone out there has any lore questions or anything that they're not sure of, and they want to know if it's lore or heresy, chuck them down into the comments. And please, guys, if you do want to know more about the lore, there's nothing that beats checking out the actual books from Black Library. See you next winter.